Welcome back, gamers of the internet, to the final part of the most fun build of Dark Souls 3. Today, we tackle the Endgame bosses, all of which will crumble before our unstoppable power. To start off, why not go after Osiris? Let's be honest, he's kind of an asshole. For starters, he misplaced his own child, which is straight up bad parenting. Clearly, we're doing the world a service by relocating Ocelot to a foster home. He'll probably grow up to be very normal and important. Osiris is yet another boss who's immune to poison. I guess the game can't be too easy. Following Osiris' defeat, I move on to fight one of the easiest bosses of the run, Emo Phase Gundyr. The reason for him being so easy is that he actually is poisonable. And he has a wake-up animation, so you can always inflict him with the ick right off the bat. After we pound him into the dirt, it's time to go through the castle. A neat trick for dealing with these dragon pus of men is to just use Pestilent Mist on them to take down their health bar without waking them up. Unfortunately, this doesn't actually do jack shit because the pus of men will wake up anyway when the first health bar depletes. For some reason, I thought this treasure chest was a mimic, but it's not. Maybe it's a mimic in the Cinders mod and I just got my wires crossed. In any case, next up is a very interesting fight. The Dragon Slayer armor is pretty fast, and will lay the smack down when you try to cast Pestilent Mist. And of course, the boss is unpoisonable. After getting skill issued in my first attempt, I finally get a good rhythm going. Now in the footage, you might notice that the boss is below half health, but isn't entering phase 2. For some reason, if you only use Pestilent Mist, the butterflies above won't actually float down to help the armor. I find this very weird, but I'm happy for the extra help. I fail a few times at going through the parkour tower, but once I'm on the other side, I can easily kill the Swordmaster with Frost Mist. Except when I try that, this happens. I'm not editing this. This weird UI glitch just appears. It's incredibly fascinating. The next place I went was to Archdragon Peak. Unfortunately, I forgot to hit my record button, so I'll reenact what happened in the boss fights with Photoshop. For now, I have to kill the Ancient Wyvern. I know you're thinking that I'll probably just go ahead and use a +0 weapon for the plunging attack kill, but we don't even need to. And to be honest, I don't want to. Running to the plunging attack ledge is somewhat dangerous. Instead, we can euthanize the dragon with a special 3-part cocktail. It doesn't really matter how tinky the dragon is, all of our damage scales with max health. Then I'm teleported and subjected to hearing the most bone-chilling sound in the game. No, not that sound, this sound. Fortunately, the run up to the next boss is very easy and pretty stress-free. Speaking of the next boss, we're lucky for the fact that the King of Storms is actually poisonable. This makes phase 1 the easy part. A single cast of poison and toxic mist is almost enough to kill the dragon outright. You just need him to choke on PP mist for a few seconds in addition to kill him with minimal FP usage. Phase 2 is much more difficult. Nameless doesn't give you a lot of time to cast spells, and he's a human-sized enemy, so he isn't easily affected by the area of Pestilent Mist. Really, the only way to go about this fight is to hug him inside the Death Cloud and walk in very tight circles. With all your Estus and good dodging, you should be able to outlast him. With his death, we've murdered all optional bosses. The only thing left to do before the final boss is beat up a couple of crippled children, something I have a lot of experience with. While in the library, I make the mistake of cutting the line for the Bukake bathtub before it's my turn. The other patrons politely ask me to leave. I really don't have time for this gang squad fight, so I'll just leave them alone. Lothric and Lorien are yet another fight where poison is useless. On the surface, it seems like using Pestilent Mist is going to be super hard because of how quick Lorien attacks. But the thing is, you can just cast a spell a few feet away from him where it's safe. He will either do a lunging attack into the mist or teleport on top of it. Then all you have to do is dodge. Phase 2 is more of the same, it just takes longer now that you have to fight the gremlin. Now, I have a confession to make. For me, Soul of Cinder is one of the hardest bosses in the entire series. I know most people just roll through him, but for some reason his first phase really fucks me up. Luckily, this build takes advantage of some of his weaknesses. Compared to Nameless King or Prince Lorien, his attacks are generally slower and less spammy. Plus, he will create distance on his own a lot of the time, allowing you to cast spells safely. And in my personal opinion, he has one of the best final boss themes in all of gaming. Before linking the fire, we gotta do the Ringed City. It's such a good DLC, and I'd like to kill every boss in the game if I can. At this point in the game, we have absolutely no need for money. Levels are basically pointless, we have no equipment to buy or upgrade, and no more relevant spells to learn. So naturally, I take time to go out of my way and get the Ring of the Mad Dollar +3. A ring that's actually helpful is the +3 Ring of Flavor, which I also make sure to grab.
Hello there.
I then fight a Pyromancer for absolutely no reason. She's a difficult fight normally, and this build doesn't really make things any easier. First, you have to lure the gremlins away without aggroing the Pyromancer. Then you need to find some way to actually kill her. If you can manage to cast Pestilent Mist, there's a decent chance she'll just stand in it when throwing fireballs at you. And then she'll kill herself that way. After making it through Dark Souls 2 Remastered, we get to fight the first of several incredible bosses of this DLC. As you might expect from the boss of a poison level, these demons are immune to toxic behavior. They're also immune to the uncaring cold of frost for some reason. This combination of traits makes these demons the only guys on the planet capable of being around my ex-girlfriend. Having to fight two bosses at once is as much a blessing as it is a curse. Because one of the demons is always aggressive and the other is always passive, it's easy to focus on one at a time. Additionally, we can use the passive demon to body block the active demon, while both of them linger in the Pestilent AoE. On my winning attempt, I got the Fireball variant of the Demon Prince. When I'm using a regular melee build, this is the version I usually prefer, but I think for the Mist build, the Kamehameha Laser Demon would have been easier. This fight is about as hard as it usually is. You get lots of time to cast spells between big attacks, and killing the Demon Prince always leaves me on the edge of my seat. It's always so close and such a fun fight. I just want to point out while I'm running through the city, does anyone else hate that the large knights will aggro onto you when you're talking to Shira? I really feel like their patrol range should be reduced to not interrupt your conversation. This is one of those inconsequential things that just really irks me in the game. Anyway, between a series of quitting and loading, Shira tells us she wants to pull an old yeller on her pet dragon. Now, I've never killed someone else's pet on purpose with their permission before, but I'm down to try new things. So I say yes. The first step is to cripple Midir by throwing him off a cliff. I think Pestilent Mist makes this part of the fight a bit easier. You don't have to worry about attacking, so you can spend all your concentration on just not falling off the cliff yourself. Which is something I do a lot normally. And now for the fight proper. Out of all the bosses, I think Midir is the most well known for being cheesed by Pestilent Mist. Honestly, using tear gas on him here is more effective than using it on peaceful American protesters. It doesn't even matter that he's immune to poison. Just like the Demon Prince before him, Midir is one of the best fights in the entire series. He might even be my favorite boss. This DLC in general is just almost flawless with bosses. I say almost because the next fight is kinda poo-poo. Half-Light is what happens when the old monk gets his own gang squad. This fight isn't especially hard, it's just annoying. You can forget about killing the two Cool Kids Club members. It's just not gonna happen. Luckily, we can poison Half-Light. Unluckily, he's fairly resistant, so it might take a few casts. Then it's just a matter of trying to cast Pestilent Mist and tanking small hits from everyone. Eventually, the Guardians will stop healing him and he'll die to the gas. So that was kind of a quality speed bump, but it's okay, because we have another banger fight coming right up. Gale is another contender for my favorite FromSoft boss. Awesome music, awesome fight, and cool lore with great writing. He's got it all. And especially fortunate for us, not only is Gale poisonable, but he's actually super weak to it. If you're struggling with this fight, just bring Toxic Mist. It makes things 100 times easier. The only troublesome thing is that Gale cleanses himself when entering Phase 2, so you have to poison him again. But it's not a big deal. And that's it. Every boss in the game killed. By an absurdly strong build. All that's left is traveling back to the kiln and... Wait. Oh yeah, I forgot. This game has another DLC. Well, getting to the boss is going to be a piece of cake. This DLC is criminally short. The only speed bump is Valheim. I didn't know this, but apparently he can cast Vow of Silence. If I wasn't panicking at this discovery, I would have remembered I could still use the Poison Mist weapon art. Even without that, Vow of Silence runs out pretty quick, and Valheim isn't that hard to poison. He also seems strangely averse to healing himself when you don't use a melee weapon. All in all, it's pretty easy. Before destroying the big bad, I decide to kill the wolf furry.
On all levels except physical, I am a wolf.
You might think the little wolves will make this a pain in the ass, but they actually aren't really a problem at all. They will get poisoned with like one tick inside the mist, and once they get poisoned, they will die eventually. I had no idea I was so good at killing dogs. Maybe I should make a career out of this. Well, here we finally are. One more boss to go. And look at that, she's not even immune to poison. This will be a piece of cake. So, Friede is obviously really hard. She is a small target who is super mobile. She essentially hard counters this build in every way. She just jumps out of every gas cloud you put her in. Lucky for me, this isn't even my final form. I'm still missing a few Estus materials, which I go ahead and grab. I can also get the physical resistance ring from the Dreadheap. And finally, I get around to saving Irina for more spells. I know it took a while, but hey, better late than never. The fact I came back at all makes me a better person than your dad. Anyway, the spell I'm going to use is Tears of Denial. This spell allows me to survive a fatal blow one time, essentially giving me an extra hit I can take. This isn't especially useful for this fight, but it has an infinite duration and it persists through bonfire resting, so it kind of becomes the best option by default given how long this fight is. Now that I'm using 100% of my power, it's time to nip this in the bud. Is everything pointless? Have I wasted my life doing this? As a white person, I thought life would be easy for me. Is this even possible? It's not too late. I can still use a different weapon? No. I sold all of my Titanite. I fear I may be stuck here for the rest of my life if I don't just give up. Why did I ever think this would be okay? I have no more tricks, no more secret techniques, no more spells to learn. I am at my wit's end. Must I give up hope? Maybe it's time to close this chapter of my life and just go back to playing Genshin Impact. Could it be that I'm not meant to complete this? Was I a fool for ever starting it in the first place? This is impossible. At least for me. How many times have I died here? More than I could count. I don't know if there's anything left I can— wait. Oh shit, I got her!